Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Marina from Health Glow. She is broadcasting all the way from Serbia. If you can believe that, she may be the guest that I've had that's the farthest away. I saw her do a presentation once for Dr. Doug Graham where she made a beautiful box of candy using the fruit, the whole fruit, and nothing but the whole fruit, not using any of the traditional ingredients that you find in candy like sugar and dairy. This is all fruit, all good for you. It's going to be a beautiful demonstration, a beautiful presentation as she makes her Health Glow candy box. Please welcome to the show, Marina. It's so nice to meet you virtually.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
I was so impressed with your presentation, not just the creativity, but just the beauty and the simplicity that you could have just a few simple ingredients that people can easily find in their store that might already be in their home and make candy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes. So on the last Let's Cook Raw show that I was on, I made this recipe for the Health Glows candy box. And that is really my point, my message. Healthy meals are so simple. Raw vegan diet is the fastest diet on this planet. It is so simple, it is so delicious, and it is so satisfying and beautiful.
Absolutely. And I'm just so curious how all the way where you live in Serbia, how did you even find out about a raw vegan diet or just a vegan diet?
Oh, that's such a good question. And thank you for that. So yes, this part of the world is everything about meat, and beer. And but then, well, my story dates back all the way back to the kindergarten. So do you want to hear the whole story?
Well, sure, because I know that your recipes are so quick that why not? Let's hear the story first, and then they'll have to wait to get the recipe.
Okay, so when I was little, I had a rabbit pet whom I adored very, very much. And then one night, there was something mysterious going on in the backyard, and my parents told me and my brother to go to our room and not to go out. So we were in our room and we knew there was something exciting going out in the backyard. And at the time, my brother and I were watching ninja movies all the time. And I remember my brother told me, like, if you're a ninja, you can run out and see what's going on. And I just jumped on my feet and I was like, I'm a ninja. And I ran out, and I'll never forget that scene. So that was the scene that actually set me up for my life mission on this planet. So I ran out to the backyard, and first I saw nothing, and then I was like, where is that something mysterious that is going on? And I was turning around, and then I saw that scene that is still in my mind. It just memorized so deeply in my mind. So my father was holding my rabbit for its ears, and there was blood dripping from my rabbit. And there was this neighbor who was standing beside my father, and he had this big knife. Well, what in my mind at the time, as a 5-year-old, was a big knife in his hand. And I was just looking at that scene, and I didn't know what was going on. And the next thing, so this is all happening in milliseconds, but for me, that was like an hour of happening in my mind. And the next thing I know that my mother just came and she dragged me into the house, and she said me, didn't we tell you not to go out from your room? And I started crying and screaming. I didn't know what was going on. I was so confused. I didn't know why did they do that. I wasn't even sure what was that I saw. And then my father came in, and well, he put me on his lap, and he was very gentle, and he said, well, like, that was your rabbit, and tomorrow is gonna be our lunch. And he said, if we let that rabbit just grow old, he would just die and we wouldn't be able to eat it. And in that moment, I was like, I mean, I wanted to believe him because he was, and he is my father. And I believe that he is a very well-intended human, but I just couldn't believe, like, in my mind, something clicked, and I was like, wait, are you telling me that all the meat that we have been eating until now is like, it comes from animals? And things to be worse, my father used to work for a very successful big meat company in my home country, in the home country of Serbia, and he was bringing from his job all these like delicious meats, like the best of the best. And we always thought that we had the best nutrition, best diet ever, because we got to eat all the like the best produce from this meat company. And I was like, I was slowly making a connection. I was like, well, all the produce that you're bringing from the job, where does it come from? And then slowly, step by step, year by year, I just realized that the meat is actually killing living beings. And I felt so hurt that nobody asked me before that, did I want to participate in that? They were hiding that from me. It was like they just delivered this meat and told me that that was the best nutrition from my father's job that we could ever imagine. But nobody told me the truth. And I felt so hurt, so like,
well, you must have felt betrayed. I mean,
betrayed is the right word. Like, as if I participated in something that I didn't approve, but nobody told me about it. But nobody at the time, I lived in a surrounding where vegetarianism was not existent. And then when I was in the 7th grade of elementary school, I got homework to write a paper on Nikola Tesla. So have you ever heard about Nikola Tesla?
Well, he invented the Tesla car,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we can talk on camera across the world. Well, anyway, so I got a paper to write about him. And at the time, there was no internet, no phones, no cameras, no laptops, nothing. So I went to something that children of today don't know what it is. And it is called a library. So I went to a library and I got books. If anyone is watching who was born after the 2000, library book papers, you know. Anyway, I got all these books, like a stack of books on Nikola Tesla's life, and I was slowly reading one by one. And then I came to a word, vegetarian. And I was like, what? He was a vegetarian? What does it even mean? Vegetarian, I didn't even know that that word existed. And then the next sentence was like, he didn't eat meat. And I was shocked. I think like 13 years old. And I was like, what? Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest minds in the human history, didn't eat meat? That's even possible? And I went home and I was like, I'm a vegetarian. And I guess that my parents were like, what are you talking about? Like, what's that? And but God heard my prayer, and then it happened that we moved to another place, and we moved to a very building where a doctor who lives in my hometown, he had his office, and this was like probably the only person at the time who was a vegetarian. And not just that he was a vegetarian, he is a doctor who promotes vegetarian diet. And I went to a couple of his lectures, and I was like, wow, there is someone else who is not eating meat. I want to be a vegetarian as well. And then slowly, just book by book, videos came later. There was no internet at the time, as I said. Well, anyway, book by book, I came to realization that people by their very nature are plant eaters, are vegans, are actually raw vegans. And so that's how I came into this world of first vegetarianism. I became vegetarian in 2004. And then in the whole time, I knew there was something wrong with the milk, like drinking milk from a cow. It was something wrong, but I didn't know why. I didn't know how to explain and express myself. And then the next year in 2005, I finally got to all these books that are saying that milk is not just that it's not good for you, it's not even your food, it's food for cow's baby. And then I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm a vegan. And then I was eating a vegan diet, and then it happened that I went to Washington, D.C., where I was an au pair for 3 months. And I lived in a family that introduced me to the world of veganism in America. And they suggested that I finish this plant-based course at Cornell. And that's where I got to know about Dr. Colin Campbell's work and his amazing China study, and Neil Barnard and McDougall and all these like doctors in America who are talking about veganism. And then I really got good arguments for the choice that I made because of what I believe in, and that's like peace on planet and just equal rights for everyone who gets chance to breathe air. Animals, just because they don't speak our language, are not inferior to us. Anyway, so I got these scientific arguments behind this. I was so happy with that course and the path that that set me on from there on. And then slowly I got yeah, this was really an incredible story. So there I created my YouTube channel in Serbian just to talk about veganism, because I just wanted people to stop eating animals. That's all I wanted. And then there was a man in America who lives on Long Island, and he is originally from my part of the world. So he saw my website, he saw my YouTube channel, and he got in contact with me through Facebook, I think. And he said, Marina, there is a book that I want you to read. And he sent me a book all the way from the States, from Long Island, all the way to Serbia. And it was the book by Dr. Douglas Graham, The 80-10-10 Diet. And I was reading the book. And I was like, whoa, we should be only eating fruits, vegetables, and some nuts and seeds. Oh yeah, that's so obvious. Why didn't I see that before? And I was so fascinated with this message that I just decided, okay, no, everyone has to know about this. And being a translator by trade, I decided to translate that book. And I just started translating it. I didn't even have a publisher, but I just knew that I had to bring this message to people. So I was translating the book, and then I found the publisher, and he was unsure about this book, but I literally grabbed him by his hand, and I was like, no, we have to translate this, we have to publish this. And then I took him to a fruit festival in Slovenia to meet Dr. Douglas Graham and all the other lecturers about raw food diet. And he went to Slovenia with me to this fruit festival, and he was amazed. He tried the diet, and he talked to Dr. Douglas Graham, and he was sold the book. And I translated the book, we published the book, and it is selling very well in Serbia. It has very good feedback from people from this part of the world. And I've been on a low-fat raw vegan diet since February 2012, and things are just getting better and better. It's incredible. Now, as you can see, this is my kitchen, and I don't even own a stove, a cooker, or anything that can cook like food. Yeah, so that's my path.
Well, that is an incredible story on so many levels, and I'm so sorry about what you experienced as a child. That must have been very traumatic, the fact that it still affects you today.
Yes, but I will also say this, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because even though my rabbit got sacrificed, now as I know these laws of nature, and I mean, I don't know anything, but like I got into understanding a little bit more about how this universe and souls are doing. That was actually the story that my father, the rabbit, and I invented before we came into this physical existence. So we had agreement to do this so that I can do my job on this planet. So that was like my stepping stone to do my mission, and something that I'm very passionate about. And I couldn't imagine to live anything else. I am living my mission, and I'm so happy about it, about this. So yeah, it was one of the best things that ever happened.
Wow, I love the way you look at it. Your energy and your vitality, it's just contagious. That's why I was so drawn to have you on the show, just because you just, I mean, you're darling, you're adorable, but just your passion for what you're doing, because I'm so interested in the raw vegan diet. I'm not raw myself, but I've been vegan for 44 years and I had 2 years as a raw foodist, but I didn't do it correctly. I didn't do the low fat Dr. Doug Graham version. I did more the designer one with a lot of, fancy foods. And he's actually going to be on the show for like 5 days with people that he's chosen to give us some more information on that, because I'm curious what the difference was for you being on a vegan diet to a raw vegan diet. Did you notice improvements in energy or any health differences or skin differences? Because I'm always intrigued about people that can do it, because people tell me my diet is too difficult just because I don't eat sugar, oil, and salt. And then when you say, but then don't cook anything and don't eat starch, they look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for asking me that question. Yeah, when I read all the arguments about raw food diet, at first I was so opposed to the idea of a raw vegan diet, because I was just addicted to my mostly grains. And then when I read the reason behind my addiction, because grains do have opioids, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, that make you addicted. And that was the biggest addiction that I had for the raw vegan diet, for the cooked vegan diet. But I was never a good cook. Everything got burnt. I hate to use stove. I never really mastered how to use that piece of equipment in your kitchen. And I was like, why is this even, like, how do you do this? And then all these metal pots, and I feel so relieved since I don't have a stove. I have no metal pots. I just so enjoy my clean kitchen. And then I'm like thinking, like, like clean the outside, clean, well, like the cleaner inside, and there is nothing sticky in your blood or in your intestines. The improvements that I felt and that I lived, it was like on so many different levels. So because I went on a raw vegan diet, I started experiencing this intense interest in fruits, in all kinds of fruits, and that actually set me up for travel that I never even dreamed that I would go to. I remember when I was little, I dreamed maybe someday, maybe if I could travel somewhere. And then when I went on a raw vegan diet, like as if a new part of my brain opened up. I cannot even express that. If you don't feel that, like, you cannot even understand. But if you feel, then you know what I'm talking about. Like all of a sudden I became this manifester. I mean, like, I could manifest anything that I want. I'm so in tune with that. And then I started traveling to all these tropical destinations. How? I just set my goal, and like, we're going to go to the Philippines. I'm going to go to Costa Rica. I'm going to go to Thailand. I'm going to live here, or Bali, or this, because I have to eat champidak. And then or I have to eat jackfruit, or I have to eat durian, or all these mangoes. I want to have cases of mangoes in my room. And when I look back, it was a journey, like, amazing. Just amazing is the right word. I saw improvements in me wanting to experience tropical life and to see all these amazing tropical fruits. So if I didn't have that fire in me that made me want that, I would never accomplish that. You have to have a strong motivation in order to accomplish something. And then on the other hand, I have, like, most people tell me that I have tremendous energy, and I feel it is like that. My skin is pretty clear. What else? I do exercise, so that's why I maintain my strength, flexibility, and stamina. But I think that I get into exercising much easier than if I had to digest something that is more difficult. I'm just loving it. I love fruit. Oh, and this is another one. I love fruit seasons. Like, after doing this diet for so long, since 2012, I know in advance in which season, in which month, what I'm gonna eat. And I'm so looking forward to every new season. And now it is the sweet cherry and strawberry season in Serbia. It's such a divine season. I love it. I love it. And then I'm looking forward to the next season, which is apricot season. And then come the peaches, and then come the plums. And plums in Serbia, oh my gosh! Like if you have, I'm telling this everyone, if you haven't had Serbian plums, you don't know what life is all about. And then come the melons, and then comes my favorite season, which is the fig season and grape season. And then after that come the persimmon season. And then after that, I'm in Thailand and I'm having all these mangoes and dragon fruits. And then I go to Borneo and I have a champion, all I want. And then I come back to the sweet cherry season. And yeah, so life is beautiful.
So is it just a fruit diet, or are you eating some greens and
Oh,
things?
that's such a good question. No, usually or almost daily, for my dinner, I have something savory, like spaghetti, zucchini spaghetti, or a big salad, or what I like to, well, it's basically a stew, but my rice is either cauliflower or zucchini, with all kinds of vegetables and some sauce. So I love to prepare dinners. I love to prepare these vegetable savory dishes, and I have so many pictures and some even videos. Yeah, well, maybe some other time I can prepare.
I was going to say, maybe come back and do a savory episode.
Please, I would love that.
One of the reasons I wanted you to do the candy box is because even people that aren't raw or vegan could eat this and they would love it. And it'd be so great for children, because I'm so passionate about people, whether they are vegan or not, to not eat processed sugar. I think it's caused such devastation to our country with the disease rates and the addiction rates. I mean, because sugar is so addictive, but when you're using fruit, you can really have your candy and eat it too.
Absolutely. And I am so glad that you mentioned this. I've been watching some of your videos. And by the way, congratulations for the great work. I love all the interviews that you've done with these celebrities in the raw vegan or vegan movement, and it's incredible. And I know that in almost in each and every videos of yours, you stress this like no sugar, no salt, and there is an acronym that you are using.
Yeah, SOS, sugar, oil, salt. It's Dr. Goldhammer's. And I also say no flour and alcohol. It's SOFA's free. Sugar, oil, flour, alcohol, salt. Don't eat it.
Yeah, it's not even food. But I worked in elementary school. I was running my own art school for 7.5 years. As a part in I was renting classrooms in elementary school, so I got to see firsthand what children are bombarded with. These are all like the worst candies in the world, filled with sugars and fats and all kind of flavorings and colorings and chemicals and all this, when they can only have like dates and make such delicious candies out of dates. And it's a sin that most children and even humans, like grown-ups today, don't even know about this, like such simple yet delicious cakes and cookies and sweets and candies that you can make out of sweet, delicious whole foods. And that's what I'm going to teach you today.
I don't know why anyone not would have to even use sugar anymore. I was a pastry chef at a Los Angeles restaurant, and all I did was use dates, either whole dates or I would make a syrup or a paste. But anything anybody can do with sugar, I can do with dates. And dates are, like you say, a whole natural food with fiber and vitamins and minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, micronutrients, and they're delicious.
Absolutely. And there's so many different kind of dates. When I first was introduced to dates, it was in 2012 when I went raw vegan. And I hate to admit this, but it's only now that I'm realizing that before that I had never even known about dates. And I was like, why was this hidden from me? And then when I discovered all these different kinds of dates, like Sakari dates, Mijol, or oh my gosh, like people should know about this. It's a sin not to offer this to children or to grown-ups as well.
Did you become raw vegan overnight after reading Dr. Doug Graham's book, or was there a transition period? And do you ever miss?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Actually, before I read the 80-10-10 diet book, I tried a raw vegan diet, but as you mentioned, I tried all the high-fat recipes that just didn't digest well for me, and then I went back to my cooked vegan diet. And then when I read the book, I went like overnight. But at the beginning, I wasn't doing it correctly. And then I happened to go to Costa Rica and study with Dr. Douglas Graham. And that was actually when I saw, oh, this is how you do it. It's so simple. And it is so, it's so delicious and simple and satisfying. But before that, I wasn't doing it the best. But over the years also, I will say that every next year I'm thinking like, oh, now I'm doing it even better than the last year, because I just improved on some recipes and how I present the food and how I I guess like with everything in life, you just every next year you think like the previous year, like, oh, I knew nothing, like now I know better. But so yeah, let's say that I went overnight, even though at the beginning I wasn't doing it like the way I'm doing it now, which is like much better now.
Okay. Do you ever miss any cooked food? What's the temperature like in Serbia? Is it a cold climate, a warm climate?
Well, that's such a good question. So first, do I miss any cooked food? No. After 10 years on a raw vegan diet, no, because my taste buds completely changed. But at the beginning, yes, I was missing some cooked foods. But then I read this explanation that as the toxins are leaving your body, first they go into the bloodstream, and when they are in the bloodstream, you have the craving for the origin of those toxins, so to speak. That's the explanation, and it really worked well for me, and it helped me to go through that transition state phase in which I was craving something from my previous diet. As for the temperature here, I think it's pretty much like New York, I would say. I lived in New York for before, so just for a couple of months on 2 occasions. Anyway, so about that, but so from May until late autumn, we have very nice weather. There is a beautiful beach in my hometown. There is abundance of fruit here in Serbia, and it really breaks my heart because every year in Serbia, so much fresh fruit just goes to waste because people think that's not food, and it's very affordable. I'm always like telling people about this. If you like sweet cherries, just come to Serbia, because I lived in other parts of the world where I just couldn't. I couldn't. I mean, nobody really can buy so much sweet cherries, for example, because they're so expensive. But here in Serbia, I buy 1 kilo is around $2 per kilo, and like it's very affordable to eat fruit and vegetables in Serbia, because I did live in some places in the world. I lived like in many places in the world, and I know that in some countries it's just like it's expensive to eat fresh fruits and vegetables, while here in Serbia it is very affordable, and that's what I really appreciate.
Nice, that's fantastic. How many different kinds of candy are you going to make for us today?
Oh, that's a great question. 3.
Nice. Would you like to get started with the presentation? We can still chat, of course.
Oh, yeah, sure. So let's start with our presentation. So today we're going to make a Health Glows candy box, which consists of 3 different low-fat raw vegan candies. So for this, you're gonna need, first of all, you're gonna need 2 pieces of this parchment paper, and you place one on your table, counter, or whatever, and then the other one goes on top of it. But in between, there's going to be something, right? Now, take your dates. Here I have around 400 grams of dates, which is, I have no idea how many in ounces.
Okay. Well, so 400, I believe 454 grams is a pound. So you have
So 1 pound.
close to a pound of dates. Yeah.
Yeah, a pound of dates. And I took the pits out from these dates, and now we are just going to transfer them here into this bowl. And now I'm taking some raw carob powder, and I'm placing like, well, we'll see. I cannot tell you exact measure because you have to see for yourself. If dates are more moist, you will need less of this carob powder, but if they're not so moist, you're gonna need so if they're moist, you're gonna need more, and if they're less moist, you're gonna need less.
If somebody's unfamiliar with carob powder, how would you describe it?
Oh, okay. So carob powder is a pot that grows on a tree, and it is very popular in Croatia and Montenegro at the seaside. And when you take it from the tree, you can eat it like chocolate, but it has tiny seeds inside. And what's interesting is that those seeds were the measure for creating like the measure for 1 carat of gold. But anyway, so those seeds are not edible, but but the pot itself is edible, and it's very tasty. And then when it is dried and made into powder, you can use it like a substitute for flour on a cooked diet. So I'm not using any grain products, but I'm using this carob powder. The only thing that you want to be careful about with carob powder is that they are raw, and they are not like the rare products that are not raw.
Like roasted, sometimes they roast.
Roasted, yes, roasted. So just make sure that you, well, like me, contacted the company if they didn't specify on their package, is it raw or have you roasted it? And you can bet that I contacted all the possible companies of the carob powder that I'm using, and I always ask, is it raw or it's not? And if it's not, I'm like, okay, thank you, maybe that's not for me. And then I find the one that is for me. So anyway, you put on your gloves and you just start, how would you call this? Massaging your dates into this.
Mashing it, mushing it together.
Mushing, whatever, baking, not baking.
Is there a word for vegan in Serbian?
Yes, vegan.
It's almost the same, yeah. Are there a lot of vegans in Serbia?
Okay, so I'm gonna say enthusiastically yes, but just because Serbia is such a small country, so you know, like, I'll stay on enthusiastic side and say yes, just because I am in that little circle of mine with vegans, and there are like 10 of us. I'm just kidding. Like, yeah, there is. Okay, I'm gonna reply in this way. There are so many more vegans than there used to be. So when I started my vegetarian journey in 2004, there was no vegetarian, no, like, nobody even knew what it meant. And then slowly over time, more and more people just awoke to this message of vegetarian veganism. And now there are even like 5 or 6 vegan or vegetarian restaurants in my hometown, which is a very small town.
That's
so, I mean, very small towns, small in comparison to New York or Los Angeles, of course, but big for Serbia. Anyway, so we made this. Just look at this. It is so good. And you just eat it. I'm just kidding. You don't eat it. Not right now, at least. So you place this on your parchment paper, and now you take these gloves off. We're not using them anymore. And now you take another parchment paper on top of this one, and then you take this rolling Is that right?
Yeah, rolling pin. I'm imagining you probably used a softer date like a medjool to be able to massage it like that. Because like the deglet nor, they're so hard. I don't think they would.
Yeah, these were Mazafati dates from Iran. So some dates you will have to, you will just have to soak in water, I guess. But then with some, you don't have to do it. I didn't have to do it with these particular dates that I had. Okay, and now we're just going to make a flat something, flat bread. Okay.
Has anyone in your family adopted your diet or anywhere near a vegan diet?
Well, I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. Three of them are triplets. So I come from a big family, and you know, you would say, oh, you have had so many opportunities to convert people into your diet. But I have to say that I wasn't so lucky with that. I guess you cannot preach in your own village, right? But my sister did go vegetarian, and she decided to go vegetarian when she lived in India. So that's very good. And then my brothers, who are not on a vegan diet, some of them like started eating less and less of candies or like Coca-Cola and something like that. They don't consume anymore. So I will say that they are on the right path. That's what I'm gonna say.
I love that. I've never heard that saying, but I love it. You can't preach in your own village. That's so true.
Darling, you have no idea how true that is. Like, but anyway, so we are going to make this flat something. Did you notice that we do miss vocabulary for the raw vegan chefing? Like I mean, there are some words, but we still miss some terms, or maybe I'm just not familiar with all the terms that I should know as a chef. What is your take on that?
Well, do you mean like missing the words in Serbian or missing them in English?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, in English first.
Yeah. Well, maybe because it's just kind of a new concept, or you know, but we can make up words. I mean, there are words that are
Absolutely.
now that
Well, I was just trying, like, flat. What is this? You know, it's
almost like a fruit roll up in a way. I mean, it's
there you have it. Okay, now we're going to take a knife, and this is a wooden knife, and I just want to make a rectangular shape out of this.
How did you develop your recipes, and do you have a cookbook?
Oh yes, I do. How did I develop? I have to say, well, I have to thank to Dr. Douglas Graham, who played a big role in this. So when I went to his retreat in Costa Rica, that was when I was interning with him, and I mean with his team, and there was this very talented chef who was preparing all the dishes, and we were helping her in the kitchen, and that was where I learned the basics. And then after that, I went to all these fruit festivals in Denmark and the UK and Slovenia, and I saw how other incredible chefs from this movement have been preparing incredible dishes, and that was my the base where I learned the ropes, I would say. And then from there, once when you learn the basics, when you learn like what combines well with what, and what's tasty, what's not, the textures, the presentation, and all that, then it's easy to make your own cuisine, so to speak. So yeah, and now I still love to read other people's recipes and recipe books. I have tons of recipe books, but I have to say this, that I'm very lousy at creating something from the recipe. I would just read the recipe, and then in my mind, I was like, okay, substitute. Like I'm gonna do it my way. Like I read it, I know what you mean, but I'm gonna do it my way. And then I end up in the kitchen, I'm like, my kitchen, my rules. So, but yeah, but they're so simple and like you're gonna see now. So
Well, I'm guessing though, just most of the people I know that have been successful, whether it's raw vegan or vegan, they tend to eat rather simply. They don't make gourmet meals every single meal. They kind of eat repetitively, but not in a boring way. But would you agree? I mean, obviously you're eating in season, but I don't think you're sitting there preparing, elaborate recipes for every meal.
yeah, so usually I eat usually, like when I say usually, read daily. I eat twice a day, and my first meal is around lunchtime when I have a fruit meal. For example, this season it would be strawberries plus sweet cherries, and sometimes I make well, this is a new video on my YouTube channel. It is called the perfect dip for strawberries. So I make this dip of dates and carob, and then I just dip strawberries in it. So it is so good. So that would be my daily lunch in this season. And then for dinner, as I said, I usually have spaghetti or some veggie stew, and it's usually very simple, very similar, but sometimes I just switch between some of my favorite sauces, depending on what I have in the given season. And that would be the main difference between my vegetable meals, is the sauce. Just replace a couple of ingredients and you have another sauce. But and sometimes it's about the texture. You can make with the same ingredient so many different textures, and texture is so important when it comes to taste. If you have a different texture, you have a different taste, you have a different meal. So yeah, so that's about it.
Are you most active on YouTube or Instagram? If people wanted to follow you or connect with you, where do you spend most of your time?
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm on the internet, 24/7. I am posting daily on Instagram. You can follow me at Health Glows, and I also have a YouTube channel, which is also Health Glows. I have a Facebook page, which is also your guest, Health Glows, and I have a website, healthglows.net, and you can follow me on all these medias. I'm there for you. But mostly I am on Instagram, and I'm posting daily. Like it seems like the phone has become part of my hand, and whatever I'm doing, I'm posting on my stories. Anyway, now we have a banana. And under here, I have the only stove that I have in this kitchen, which is my dehydrator, and I can show you that. So this is the only stove that I have, this little dehydrator. And now I have dehydrated a banana for a couple of hours. Yes. And now we're going to place this banana into this beautiful date pastry or something, and now we're going to roll it into this.
Wow, that is so cool. What temperature did you dehydrate? And I'm guessing if somebody didn't have a dehydrator, they would.
That's a good question. It was 115 Fahrenheit for maybe 2 or 3 hours. And how many hours? It really depends on how crispy you want it to be. Mine isn't so crispy, and it also depends on the altitude and just the temperature in the room. So I cannot give you the exact numbers, but I would say like 2 hours is more than sufficient. So we have just rolled this in, and now we're going to take this knife again and slice this right here. Okay. And we have to take another knife, sorry. The real knife. Okay.
That is so cool. It probably tastes somewhat like a Tootsie Roll. I don't know if you're familiar with that candy in the United States, but like kind of like a chewy chocolate caramel.
I know what you're talking about, but I've never tried it because it was not I didn't have access to it while I was eating everything when I was growing up. So when I finally got access to it, I was already vegan, so I missed it. And maybe I was fortunate for having missed it. Anyway, so this is the first cake. I don't know if you can see it well. And it's a little banana roll. When I was little, there was this candy that is still on the market today, and it's called translated from Serbian, little banana, and we loved it. We just loved it. So I decided to have my favorite favorite candy from my childhood, even though I am on a raw diet. And this is it: dates, carrot, and banana. You can't get better than this. Okay. So here we have.
Do you ever get like little candy papers to put them in?
Oh, you're so right. Let me see. We're gonna put them in the candy box eventually.
That is a beautiful box. Where did you get it?
You don't want to know. I got it in a Chinese shop.
It's still, it's so pretty because, like, you know, we have like candy shops in the United States, like C's Candy, and they usually it's just for Valentine's Day. They have a lot of heart-shaped boxes.
For me, every day is Valentine's Day, so that's why I got this brand. I'm just kidding.
When somebody isn't vegan, what is traditional Serbian food like? Is it meat heavy? Is it what is the Serbian diet?
It's meat plus meat, and on top of that, plus more meat. That and then you spice it all with rakia, which is alcoholic beverage, and yeah, that's mostly like if anyone is from this part of the world, they will understand this words: cevapi, pljeskavica, rakia. That's Serbian. So it's very heavy in meat, unfortunately, and that's why this part of the world that I come from has a very high rate of diabetes and heart attacks, because people think that their hearts are attacked by someone invisible, but in fact they are attacking their hearts all the time, 3 times a day at least. But just nobody told them that. And I know this firsthand because I graduated from the secondary medical school, and I know what is taught in those schools. So I know that people are not informed about health. They are only informed on how to manage and medicate their illnesses and how to go even further down the road with that. So unfortunately, yes, people are just not educated about that, nor are medical professions. So there's so much room for improvement there.
How long do these candies last? Do you keep them in the refrigerator, the freezer? I know you're going to be putting them in a box for presentation, but how would you normally store them?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'm so bad with saving food. I just make something and it's gone in the first day, either by me or my guest. So I'm so bad with like how long is something gonna last, but I guess a couple of days at least. I wouldn't bet in a week, but 5-6 days. So yeah, 5-6 days, maybe a week. So now we have these little banana rolls that I'm just gonna put in the freezer right now, so just that they can tighten a little bit until we are making other candies, and then I can put them in the candy box. So here we are.
I mean, that's amazing. You didn't even use the process.
But I just wanted to have them tighten a little bit faster. That's why I'm placing them in the freezer.
You know, you didn't even use a food processor or anything. You just used your hands.
Yes. You can use the food processor, and I do have it, but you can just use your hands, and that's more than enough. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do is to place this into the freezer as well, because when it freezes, it stops, it's not as sticky as now until I make a sauce for this. So we are just going to place this in the freezer. And now we are going first to make cinnamon rolls. So I took another banana and I put it into my trusted dehydrator. And this is so easy to make and everyone loves it. And there are different ways to make banana, these cinnamon rolls. I just tend to make the simplest version. So we just took a banana and I sliced it lengthwise into these pieces. And now I'm just gonna place them on top of this cutting board, and I'm gonna add some cinnamon on top. If you want, you can go fancy and you can make a really nice sauce. Like I like to make a apple date cinnamon sauce, but you can go just very simple and just take cinnamon and add cinnamon to these banana pieces. As simple as this. If you have unsulfured and oil-free raisins, they would really go well with on top of these cinnamon buns. But unless
Are you grating the cinnamon fresh?
Yes.
Wow.
I know, right? Okay. Anyway, so we have that, and now I'm just gonna roll this into cinnamon buns. And look how cute that is.
It's adorable.
Okay. And as I said, if you want to go like fancy, you want to make a sauce, go ahead and do it. If you have unsulfured and oil-free raisins, just put them on top of these beautiful buns. But if you just want to go simple, dehydrated bananas with some cinnamon is so tasty, delicious, and it looks beautiful, like little roses.
We have a cinnamon bun like store. They have them in airports, and it's called Cinnabon. And like I looked up the nutritional information. It's like over 1,000 calories with tons of sugar and saturated fat. It is.
It is so interesting. Before I went raw vegan, I didn't even know what cinnamon buns were. They're just not a thing in this part of the world, but I realized that they're so popular in America. And then I saw all these recipes, cinnamon buns. Everyone is making cinnamon buns. And I tried it with this raw vegan. Oh my gosh, they're so tasty. So I never had a cinnamon bun. I haven't even seen it, nor I want to. but yeah, these are incredible. So anyway, you take your beautiful box and you just take you can take a napkin, or you can take just a piece of kitchen towel, paper towel, and you place it inside of the box. And then first we are going to place these cinnamon buns in the middle of the box, because to the right we're going to have these banana rolls, and on the to the left we're going to have strawberry rolls. So we have our cinnamon buns in here, and now we're going to make the third recipe, the third candy for today, and it's gonna be with strawberries. So here I have loads of strawberries, because it's strawberry and sweet cherry season here in Serbia. And now I am taking this, and I'm just gonna take these petals from the strawberries, and we're gonna have like, I don't know, maybe 200 grams of strawberries, which is maybe
About 8 ounces, a little bit less than 8 ounces.
Thank you. I knew I can count on you.
Yeah. Well, I just remember 454 grams is a pound, so that's about 8 ounces.
Perfect. Okay.
Do you have like farmers markets in Serbia?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I love farmers markets. I visit them every single day. And I always like to say, you know, Different people are popular at the different places and known at the different places. I'm known and popular at the farmers market because I go there every single day and everyone knows me. And everyone knows I don't use plastic bags. Everyone knows me like, oh, that girl who is buying so much fruits and veggies, and she's always having her own bags, and she never wants the plastic bags. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. You're talking about me. Anyway, so we are going to take, yeah, we are very fortunate with farmers market in Serbia. They are open every day from early morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which is very good because I did live in different parts of the world, as I said, and there are some countries in which I lived where you don't have that farmers market like culture. There is maybe farmers market once a week, and it's incredible expensive. Like, yeah, I lived in some beautiful places in the world where you just don't have that abundance at the farmers market. Here, like, oh my gosh, you go to the farmers markets and there are piles of fruits, like piles. They throw fruits on you. That's how good it is. Anyway, so this is done. Now we're taking our trusty blender and we're just placing this strawberries inside. We're going to make a really nice paste. And now I'm going to add some dried apples. Dried apples are the must of having. And I'm making these dried apples on my own. I just buy regular, organic apples. And then I slice them. I take the pits out and I place the slices on the dehydrator trays and I dehydrate them for about 12 hours. And they become like, so crispy. They smell so good. And they are incredible for all the cakes, all the candies that you want to make on a raw vegan diet, because they just add, they can be used in so many different ways. For example, if you want to make a crust, but low-fat crust without nuts, go for the dried apples, dates and dried apples. But if you want to make a paste and you want the paste to be very thick, dried apples are your best friends. So anyway, we placed some strawberries and dried apples in this, and now I'm gonna blend this. Before I blend, this is something that I learned from Rosalind Graham. I always use this. This is one of the best inventions ever. I'm telling you.
That's great.
Okay, here we go.
She is adorable. It's like she's in college and she's not. I don't know if I can tell her age, but it's not college.
I'm gonna add just a couple of more of these dried apple slices to make the sauce a little bit thicker. It is still a little bit watery. Okay, so here we go. Oh my gosh. This sauce is amazing. I can tell already. So it's just strawberries and dried apples. And if you want, you can add some cinnamon or maybe nutmeg powder. That would be really nice. So anyway, we are taking this out of the freezer. And now we're gonna add this beautiful red sauce on top of this date carob flat bread or whatever you want to call it. So Oh my gosh, it's so thick, it's so good.
The color is just beautiful.
Oh my gosh, yes, can you, oh, yeah, it looks really, really delicious. Okay. So just make sure that you don't put way too much like I did just now, because it's not gonna be, you're not gonna be able to roll it into this. But anyway, let's see what I got. Okay, so now I'm supposed to roll this into a roll. I'm having some trouble here.
Maybe, is it because maybe it got a little too hard in the freezer?
Well, no, it didn't freeze well yet, so it is still a little bit sticky. I should have probably used a little bit more carrot, but yeah, it's gonna work. It's just it's not the prettiest in the world, but let me try to fix this.
As long as it tastes good. You know, it's funny, I used to be a volunteer culinary instructor at the Braille Institute. And the thing is, it had to taste great. It didn't have to look great because they were blind. But then when I got to work at the restaurant, it was really important that the food be absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have this roll, which, as we said, it does not look at its best. And I don't know if this is only me, but I just like with the best intentions, when I want to make something, and this happens when I'm on a show or something, things don't work out the way I wanted them.
But that's okay, because this could happen to somebody else, and then you can say what they need to do if that happens to them.
Yeah, so, but I made this roll so many times, and just, I'm sorry about this.
It's always like that. Like I have a little dog and she can do tricks, and then somebody comes over and all of a sudden she doesn't know how to do it anymore. It's always that way. It's called Murphy's Law.
Yeah, I know those laws. They've been following me throughout the life. Anyway, so you make this roll to look as pretty as possible. And now I'm going to show you how you can, like, if it turned out like mine, the way I imagined it, the way it turns out, like in normal circumstances, I guess, is that you can see the beautiful red, bright color here rolling. But this just didn't happen right now, but we're gonna fix this somehow.
That's what they used to say at my culinary school. It's not what you can make, it's what you can fix.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's as if I invented that. Okay. And now to make things a little bit better, we are going to take another strawberry. We're going to take these leaves out. We're going to slice the strawberry. And we're going to place a little slice on top of each, on top of all, each and every of these little buns.
That is so pretty. I think anyone would eat this, and even children would eat this.
Yeah, well, it can be even prettier, I promise. But yeah, I guess it's tasty. So that's all what counts, right? And I hope that children would love this. This is something that I am also very passionate about, is that children and even grown-ups have sweet tooth for a reason. And the reason is so obvious, but obviously, unfortunately, not obvious enough to most people today, but things are changing slowly. Anyway, so now we're going to place these beautiful buns inside the candy box. Okay, so we have strawberries on one side, we have cinnamon buns in the middle, and we're gonna add the banana roll on the other side. And here it is.
Could you come as close to the camera as possible? So that we can see it?
Let me do this. Okay, so what would you say if somebody came to your house and they brought this? Okay, so I don't know.
But just a little bit more so we can.
I am trying, but they're falling down.
Oh my God, that is just so beautiful. Thank you so much, Marina. That is spectacular.
You're so welcome.
Well, we want to have you back for sure. Maybe you could do one of the savory spaghetti recipes you were talking about.
Absolutely, I would love that. Spaghetti is one of my favorite things to make. And I always joke that I probably have some Italian blood because spaghetti I love. And I make them all the time. And the thing is, like, when somebody asks me, like, how is it to be on a raw vegan diet compared to a cooked vegan diet? And I'm like, well, nothing really changed. I used to love fruit. Now I get even like to eat more of what I really, really love, and that's fruit. And then for my night meal, I have my favorite spaghetti with my favorite sauce. So nothing really changed. It's just like I got to eat more and more of what I really love. So
I know, and that's what's great is you don't have to weigh and measure your food. I bet you get to eat large portions of whatever you want.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Like when I switched to a raw diet, I got introduced into this concept that like they are the calories in fruits and veggies are diluted, so to speak, because this is a water-rich rich food. So you just have to eat more. And I'm like, okay, no problem with that. And now after so many years on a raw vegan diet, my family, they're still sometimes joking like, oh, like you mean that huge salad? Marina's gonna do it, yeah. Or like, oh, all that fruit, oh, that's for Marina. And they're still joking about this. But now after 10 years on a raw, 9.5 years on a raw vegan diet, when I saw like small pieces that people eat, like such a small sandwich, I'm like, oh my gosh, so small. I need my salad. But yeah, it's good. It's good.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your passion for this lifestyle and for health.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. As I said, I'm really honored to be on your show because I watched so many of your videos and I'm impressed with all the big names in our world that you interviewed. And now I'm on the show as well. So I'm really honored.
Well, you are. You're a big name in Serbia and soon to be hopefully in the United States. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when I'll have another fabulous guest. Thanks again, Marina. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.